pretty nice city, pretty similar to Savannah. You know, the city here, we got a lot of character and scenery to it. You know, I always tell people if they're from Atlanta or something like that, it's like looking at the trees like they're alien life, you know. Maybe New York or something, you know. So it's definitely a really beautiful town. You know, I hope you guys enjoy your trip and everything. But the sort of haunted paranormal aspect of it, just out of curiosity, if you guys ever you know, like lived in an old farmhouse or something, or anything?
I lived in a haunted house.
Really?
For real. And I had a haunted apartment.
Oh wow. Sounds like there's a new one just been made, you know? It's kind of a terrible joke to make. But and hopefully they're okay, right?
Yeah, my mom lived in a haunted one too, a haunted house.
Oh my.
What the heck?
Oh.
Yeah, I know, you never know, you know?
Yeah.
Might have had a bad tequila bottle or something.
Yep.
But let me see if I got any. Okay. Let me see if I can call these people that were missing. All he ever sends me is like a list of names, so you know, sometimes I gotta call them and stuff.
Oh my God, really? Yeah, that'll be a fun one for YouTube. Oh, this description below. My crazy ass aunt.
Yep, that's me.
What? No. No. I want to see if I can get something. Not that.
Yeah, you might get the ghost in the window, you know.
Wait, there's a ghost in the window?
No, I was saying,
Oh.
you know, it shows up on camera,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. I'm a little distracted. Sometimes it's like herding cats, you know. But yeah, as far as so what'd you say you guys what'd you say you lived in on? Oh, what did you?
I lived in a haunted place. My mom used to do witchcraft, but she was in witchcraft.
Really?
Yeah. So she brought in demon things. Instead of having a nice picture above the fireplace, we had a picture of Satan above the fireplace.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like what, Baphomet?
Huh?
Like Baphomet or what? Like that? What do you mean?
A picture of Satan was above our fireplace.
What I mean, like the goat or with the horns or
No,
what?
it was him. It was a picture of him.
I mean,
Him. It was
like the little guy with the horns, basically.
red horns.
What? Oh, okay, that's a little traumatic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No wonder you have
Being a kid with it, though.
Yeah. That sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad. And then, yeah, stuff would go banging around in the house and
Oh,
stuff,
wow,
and like
that's
running and screams and stuff. And
wait, screens too?
yeah, there were screams and stuff, and then
Any scratching?
yeah.
But if you guys want, we can go ahead and get started here, sort of heading throughout the city.
Okay.
I don't think these other people are going to show up. So.
And then the washer turned on by itself one time.
Really? That's pretty crazy.
My lamp in my bedroom shattered. It went broke.
Saw it? Were you like in the room with it? Or?
No.
My mom's experience wasn't really like malicious, it was more like playful. She would like hear a ball being thrown on the steps, and they had this one room, it was the living room, where they kept like all my grandmother's knickknacks, and it was locked. they kept it locked, and she said there would be knickknacks just
What, things thrown
drop.
around?
Yep.
Yeah, one people told me maybe a week ago, because usually I ask people if, what they've experienced and seen and that sort of thing. The guy, I think, like last week, he was saying he used to see his grandfather in the old rocking chair in the foot of the bed sort of thing. And like you were saying with the knickknacks, they said they had like a guest room at the top story of the room at their home, right? And that no one would ever go up there. And he opened the door one day, and all the books were like across the room, like thrown up against the wall.
That's a poltergeist.
Yeah, I've seen stuff pretty wild like that. The first place we're going to be walking by is the old Pink House here on the left.
Oh yeah, it's a
And
restaurant.
yeah, it's a pretty well-known place here in the city. The building there is actually one of the oldest in the city. It's 250 years old.
Wow.
Actually, this year is the anniversary, so.
Wow. Do you think it can? Do you think the activity really goes up on the anniversary date?
I'm not exactly sure which day it is. I just know it's this year.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of times that's when paranormal activity happens. It's like on an anniversary of something.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, there's
But I mean, it could be
the
haunted
owner there
anytime.
is thought to have hung himself. So
Oh
I'm not,
my, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Brings me.
But, yeah, it's a pretty busy weekend, Halloween. So, are you guys relieved I didn't show up in some ridiculous costume? Just walk around with me all night and endure that, Yeah, some of the people, like, I guess they have little dignity to begin with. So. But,
Now we did have a lot of.
birthdays on Halloween.
oh, that's cool. My buddy growing up, his birthday was Halloween.
Yep.
So, yeah, he's passed away, but yeah, that's cool.
Save my neck for doing
I mean,
Halloween.
then things were easy for you as far as your parents, right? They just took you trick or treating.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Have you had any experience?
Seen anything? Yeah, so I pretty much grew up here in the city,
Oh wow.
and I've worked at a lot of these old bars and stuff that people say are haunted. It was actually May of this year that I saw probably the most blatant thing as far as like my entire life. I mean, I've seen a couple things here and there that are pretty weird, but it was actually in May, and it's one of these rooftop bars over on River Street called Top Deck. And
I've heard of it.
I've seen that.
yeah, it's right there on the top of the
Yep.
Cotton Cell Hotel. But we were basically had the bar closed up one night, and we had all the bar stools and everything, sort of up on the tables, right? The front door's locked, and the way it's built up there, it's like an outdoor deck. And my manager, Aramis, he's usually the last guy out, right? He like has to do all the paperwork and count the door, all that type of thing. He actually brought up the subject that he's like, sometimes when I'm up here, I feel like somebody's watching me. He's like, y'all ever feel like really creeped out up here? Like there's somebody in the kitchen or something staring at you, something like that. And usually it's either him or the bartender. They're like the last people out, right? So I'm serving, so I have a lot less to do. But anyway, the two of them there, they're like, yeah, I usually feel like there's somebody in the kitchen back there, right? Like walking around or like, eyes over your shoulder type of thing. And in the middle of us talking about that, we're sort of standing outside drinking a beer, kind of standing in a circle like we are here. And the front door of the place, it would be like if that gate just flew open and then slammed shut.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then it was like loud enough. The girl sitting in front of me about fell out the chair. Me and Aramis, we're like looking at, we're facing that direction. And we just looked at each other like, yeah,
What
like
the
what
heck?
the hell? Like you saw that too, right? Like we're just like, what? Like, and yeah, it was like really blatant. I pretty much saw it happen with my own eyes. The door just
You're probably like, stop talking about me.
yeah. What it says, like, speak of the devil and he'll appear, So, yeah, I have really no idea what the history there of the building is, historically, or what happened with it. So, as far as, it's not like you just kind of like creep yourself out and like, kind of suggest
Are
it.
you still working here?
No, not anymore. That was about May. I think it was like May of this year. So that was actually the last place I was working before my coworkers got on my nerves a lot more than the ghost did. So. But yeah, it was pretty blatant. So when you hear stories about these other places, like this one's a restaurant and bar too, You know, a lot of the people that have to close up at night, the, you know, last people out, you know, mopping the floor or whatever, they're usually the ones that, you know, witness some sort of activity. It's not usually, you know, when it's like super busy, right? But things like that have kind of been known to happen too, but they're a little bit less, you know, I'm not an expert on the seances or anything, but as far as whatever the rules are that are, you know, it's, usually people are just alone and kind of by themselves. But we can step to the middle of the square here. It'll be a little easier to see the face of the building.
So is this the pink house?
Tombstone? Yeah, the pink house on the left. That's a restaurant. What are you talking? That's the water main? That's the water access. Yeah. But they got it pretty close to the tree there. Good job there.
Look, there's one of those things there, Brock. Look.
Where?
One of the face things. He had a fish.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were supposed to keep spirits out of your home.
Yep.
It's supposed to be like a gargoyle.
Yep.
And you'll see them really all over the city. Yeah, it's this is the kind of more ornate style. The other one is a little bit more ordinary looking, but you'll notice them really all over the city.
Yeah. We've seen them on Tybee Island.
Oh yeah?
That's where we learned
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good eyes, Ian Juana.
The ghost out there.
So is that what they're specifically for?
Yeah.
The paints.
Yeah, the paint room. Coach is right here.
Oh, the one by your bed?
Have you guys heard of the Pink House at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds familiar.
well,
Used to be on a plate.
usually if you ask people, you know, a place to eat around here, it's like one of the pretty often mentioned ones. It's one of the nicer places to eat. You know, if you actually were to go and ask for a table in there, they'd probably tell you like an hour and a half wait at the earliest. But
Dang.
yeah, it's a really great restaurant. The history of the building there, like I was saying there briefly for earlier, it's 250 years old, and the original owners actually thought to have hung himself in the basement. So his name would have been James Habersham, and he'll, you know, obviously a pretty wealthy guy. Now the way the building is, his name is actually accidental. The way it's painted like that today is a reference to the fact that when it was first completed, it actually turned pink accidentally.
Oh. Wow.
So, yeah, it's yeah, it would have been a white home originally, but underneath, so that's concrete around the building right there, and underneath is brick, and you know, before he puts the concrete up, it's just a brick house. It's actually one of the nicest in the city, but Habersham is like this really sort of esteemed British gentleman. He's actually pretty insulted when somebody else built a home out of brick. So he's like trying to like outdo them basically. He'll put the concrete around the building and it'll actually bleed the color from the red clay underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a lot uglier at first when it came through in polka dots and swirls and that sort of thing. Really ruddy color. Yeah, really blotchy, terrible.
The polka dot house.
Yeah. So,
Oh my goodness.
he, of course, hated the color, and they say if you actually go to eat there, if you wear the color pink, that you basically have like painted a bullseye on you. Yeah, the experience of the people there, you know, he'll like knock your drink over or something.
Oh.
I wear pink.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing pink today.
Yeah, there's no bow ties, you know.
Oh my.
But it is a really nice place though, and of course being 250 years old,
What
there's
the-
like a whole cast of hauntings beyond the original owner. One of the more well-known ones is thought to be the ghost of children, and they are actually known to lock women in the bathroom. Yeah, it's pretty, you know, I don't know. It's more of a prank than it is threatening, right?
Let's
But-
send her in and see if they lock her
No, because I was already locked in at one in
Well-
friggin' Ohio State.
What, by a ghost?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
I went
the
in to
door's
go
locked?
pee. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't get out. It took me like a good 10 minutes to kick my way out.
That's terrible.
I was asked her, I was freaking.
Really?
That's why I stay out of Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio State, yeah. The building in here, they say it's just a latch on the stall. It basically like slides shut, and you like, it's in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So, they describe it like if you actually try to move it or get out, it's basically like frozen in place. And the way that they're built is not just like a little stall door where you can crawl under it. It's like a kind of a private room, So you're basically stuck in there. But yeah, I think it's about a month ago, one of the women in the group said that it had happened to her personally.
Wow.
Yeah, she'd eaten there like the night before, and she's like, that happened to me last night. I got locked in there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
What on
So,
earth?
I've been out here one night when the waitress was getting off, and she was like walking by, and she told us that she'd actually seen Lady Haversham in the upper story up there, standing in front of the fireplace. She wasn't really too descriptive beyond just mentioning having seen her, which usually, as I sort of, ask people what they've seen and stuff, most people that say that they'll see a ghost, they say they look like regular people, they're totally solid, they have color to their flesh and everything, they're not like a smoky cloud and everything, but, yeah, she said she's basically seen her up there. About the only way you can tell that they're a ghost is that they're dressed from clothing that's like 200 years old or something, they're like way out of place looking.
Now, does anybody still live there? Or is it
Oh, it's a
straight up
restaurant.
Just straight up restaurant,
Yeah.
or they live upstairs in the restaurant?
The whole building is, everyone.
What on earth?
Divided. But,
Is this the original pink color?
No.
Or did they refinish it?
they redid it with, they painted it now.
Oh.
But, yeah, the, original color, like I was saying, Haversham is pretty much repaints it white every winter. And, that was a total nightmare, right?
I have it
You
nowhere
repaint your
near.
house every year, it takes like 5 coats probably every time. But the other place that's really well known for the hauntings is Moon River Brewery, and that is right there in front of City Hall, the building with the golden dome.
I've been
That's
there.
probably one of the better breweries. You've been there? Yeah.
Been inside, yeah.
Yeah, it's got
That's where we park by.
well, don't forget it, yeah.
In the Lincoln.
There you go.
In the Lincoln parking.
Oh yeah, the underground one.
Yeah, well.
Well, maybe.
I don't
There's a few of them.
The above ground.
Yeah, the parking garage.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, the
above
parking
ground.
garage, yeah.
Yeah.
The above ground.
There's an underground parking garage too. And then
Oh,
there's two.
okay.
There's one right there and one right there.
It's right down by the brewery.
Yeah, because we passed it, didn't we?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, Moon River Brewery, the upper floors up there, people say are haunted. And I've talked to the waitresses there, where they showed me photographs where they've just been walking around. It's like storerooms, And the girl's got like claw marks down her back.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they ain't allowed to go upstairs anymore because
No, they shut that. They shut that down.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
shut
that's
the
happened to me
upstairs
too,
down.
Yeah. People get pushed down the stairs. It's
Yep.
crazy, man. 'Cause, I mean, it's not like the lady scraped her back across a nail sticking out the wall. She's just walking around. And it's like next thing you know, it's like it's like got a photo like claw marks down your back. It's really just wild. But like you were, I guess y'all were saying some hauntings feel demonic. The people that work there, they like swear it's like. I swear it's a demon up there. Like they're for real about it.
I have a theory on that.
On what, on demons?
No. On the haunting.
What's the story on the brewery, do you know?
Well, it's used as a hospital, and the upper floors there, a lot of kids actually passed away.
Oh my God.
So it's actually pretty similar to the Marshall House over here, which.
My theory is I think the same person who died there, because I read a book about it, is the same person who's haunting not only the Blue Moon or the Moon River.
Moon River, yeah.
I think he's also haunting the other one too.
What, Churchill's?
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to work at Churchill's. There's another building right next door, and
And that little bar that we ate out the other night, tea something.
I don't know, something.
Condi.
But
Yeah.
Tondi's Tavern.
Yeah.
That's right next door too. But yeah, Churchill's, I actually used to work there maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I've been talking to some of the people there more recently, and apparently this was maybe earlier this year. one of the bartenders came in during the morning. How you guys doing? They have like a rooftop terrace where there's like a bar in the upper story, and the guy said he came in one morning and all the kegs were empty. So yeah, you know, it's like $1,000 worth of beer, you know,
Dang.
7 kegs. So they went and checked the footage, you know, the cameras, and they said that about 2 or 3 in the morning, all of the tap handles actually fell at the same time. Yeah, basically all the kegs just emptied themselves out in the middle of the night. And it's like $1,000 in beer.
At the same time.
Yeah. I think you tell me they have that footage, they uploaded it online. But I mean, I don't know how, I mean, Churchill, Savannah, I mean, if you really tried to find it, I'm sure you could, but I don't know. Yeah, that didn't happen while I was working there, but
I'm gonna get thirsty.
yeah, right. Something against beer, I guess. Alcoholic.
Right.
Well, they say they can, you know, what they were like in life, they're going to be like in death.
I know anybody that could have drank 8 kegs, you know.
You look like this drunk friend.
A bunch of drunk friends. Like $1,000 worth.
Yeah, that's a lot of beer.
That is a lot of beer.
Especially when it's like craft, you know, it's not like cheap beer either, you know.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's do this. There's 500 people right here. That's okay. Coexist here without, you know, speaking over each other. But the building across the street here is the Marshall House, and that is actually one of the most actively haunted places in the city. It's a hotel, and it's actually 4-star rated. You can see the balcony of it there. It's a really pretty building, and it's a little bit deceiving as far as being pretty two-faced. The actual history there is somewhat gruesome. As the first year it opens, it'll be used as a hospital for yellow fever patients. In particular, the upper story up there will be used as a children's ward, and the reason for that is that up off the ground, there's more draft that goes through the building when you open the windows. So they'll place the kids up there to sort of give them relief from the fever, but unfortunately the mosquitoes can come and go just as easily, so they pass away. You know, it's not the best mortality rate. So that'll be the first year that it opens, and it's not exactly how they planned it. It'll also be used as a hospital during the Civil War, and Sherman, when he arrives in the city towards the end of the war, will actually use it as a field hospital once more. Mainly what will take place there, you know, the first time it's mainly tears being shed, and this time it'll be blood, as it's going to be amputations and pretty gruesome procedures taking place there. The movie Black Hawk Down, if you've ever seen that one, there's a scene where the guy's arteries like flapping around his leg, and they got to clamp it off with forceps and all that. It would have been pretty similar to what the amputation actually would have looked like, as you would have used a scalpel to begin everything and sort of dug through there with a forceps to find the artery before you clamped it. So it's actually, you know, like an hour before the guy even picks up the bone saw. So you're basically being tortured, you know. But of course, there's no. Right?
We're over here laughing about
Yeah. You gotta say whatever you can get to get the doctor to shoot you instead.
Right.
You know?
Oh my word.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty hellish for those guys. You can imagine the haunting there. There's no shortage of it. It's actually sort of the cherry on top that in the year 1999, they'll actually find all the remains of the amputations. Yeah,
Where was that?
in 1999, it'll be in the cellar in the basement down there.
What the heck? No way.
Yeah. We'll step out of the way a little bit. Yeah, there's that restaurant 45 Bistro. You can see the sign there. It's like that little circular sign on the.
That's what they were serving on their menu.
Serving on the menu.
Amputation special.
Yeah, pretty morbid. You know,
Hey, down there where my mother-in-law used to live, they were serving human meat.
Where?
At the deli, yeah. At the meat, yeah.
Where? Which one?
Well,
Down in Beaver Falls. Yeah, years ago.
Giles?
stuff like some Charles Manson.
Yeah.
That's Jeffrey Dahmer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, years ago, they in a meat market they were selling humans.
Yeah, the haunting there. People say they'll wake up in the middle of the night, feeling like their legs being sawn off or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. One woman told me that she woke up, it's like a really loud sort of crash in the hallway, and it sounded like silverware being scattered down the hall and that sort of thing. And the old surgical tray, right? The nurse one day, so like upset the cart or whatever. But the other thing people say that's like one of the more common things is that they'll hear the sound of boots marching up and down the halls at night. The uniform of the Union officers back then had a really heavy heel. It was like a studded boot, kind of like a cleat. So it's like got a metal ball on the heel, and it was pretty loud, sort of marching around at night. People say they still hear it. They'll be waking up. It sounds like people marching up and down the hall, basically. But we can continue in this direction. We're going to go by several of these more historic homes that are kind of over here in the square.
Which meat market was that? In Juana?
She was telling me when she was younger.
Sorry.
Like, not a big kid, but when she was younger, she said a meat market down in town got busted for selling human flesh.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just sick and perverted.
I know.
That's crazy. Excuse us. Thank you.
They aren't, or they are?
I don't think so.
Hi.
You guys here for a few days?
Yeah, we leave Monday.
Have time to explore.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Are you originally from there?
Yes.
Are you? You really don't have an accent then.
And Juana, not all people from Savannah have accents.
I get accused of having an accent.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think I have a southern accent. And I'm like, no, I'm not from the South.
Usually, you have to kind of live out in the rural area for that.
Yeah.
But,
I know my aunt does. She lives in Minnesota now, and she picked.
Minnesota?
Yeah, she's supposed to be coming up on the 1st.
Yeah, Funky Bunch is a good place for breakfast if you guys are looking for anywhere tomorrow morning. Yeah, it's pretty popular.
Aw, it does look cute.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Pretty good omelet.
I love omelets.
I love vegetable omelets with cheese.
And Juana, you're just a cheese halalic. She's a holic.
So we'll take a right into the square here. There's a couple of these historic homes there that have a pretty sort of varied tragedies there. But the building across the street there is actually one of the oldest in the city. You might see somebody walking around in there. It looks like they're in there tonight. But yeah, usually all the lights are off and it looks abandoned, but that home there is actually built in 1822.
Wow.
So it's just short of 2 centuries old now. The property there, it'll actually be one of the sort of tragic deaths that take place in the city, as it will originally belong to the Ragg family. That'll be W-R-A-G-G, and the family there, when the Civil War begins in 1860, the men will enlist with the army. How you guys doing tonight? The men there basically leave, they're off to the war or whatever, and the only person left behind will be the daughter, a woman named Margaret Ragg. What would have been her bedroom are those 2 windows on the top story of the building, and as you can see, they're pretty much the only ones in the home there that aren't lit, as that will be the site of a pretty tragic death. Now, the home here being on Broughton Street, obviously you can tell this has always been a pretty active road in the town. The Marshall House is down there, and they would have been a pretty prominent family, very well known throughout the city's social circles, and all the various sort of groups and sort of social life of the city. The town, though, as you can probably imagine, back in 1860 is a lot more quiet. And there's certainly not as much to do as there is today. So Margaret will have basically lazy night there. She's just sort of bored in her bedroom, and she'll have just finished doing her makeup. They say that she's rather distracted as she's pacing around the bedroom and just sort of staring in the hand mirror. Again, it's like not much else to do. So she's a bit transfixed with her handiwork there, and she won't notice as the trail of her dress actually upsets the fireplace. Now, back in those days, the makeup's oil-based, so it's basically like having a bunch of kerosene all over your face.
Oh my.
And when the ember gets kicked up, she's basically a wick on a candle. She'll really tragically pass away, and was basically a freak accident. She's been powdered in her face. It's all over like the trail of her dress and sort of the residue from the powder. But she will really horrifically die. The fire damage, they say, in the room is actually still there today. In the corner of the bedroom, she curls up into a ball, and as it's mostly, sort of on her face there, it's enough to kind of keep the, put the flame out, keep the house itself from burning down. Your body is mostly water, and as long as you sort of, don't catch the bed on fire type of thing, she just sort of curls up and covers her face like that. So, but the room itself is still damaged. It's, again, the corner there. It's like the floor and the wall is blackened, and they say it's never been restored, as the original owners, when they sell it, maybe the next people buying it might have intended to fix it or something, but it just never gets done. The lights on the building there, obviously, people do live there, but are you missing 2 skeletons? Yeah, they still own the building. The old carriage home in the back has been converted to a loft, and the owners actually live out back in what is essentially an apartment back there. And practically speaking, if you think about it, financially, that is one of the more pragmatic examples of that sort of haunted activity, right? They're sort of letting the house sit vacant and living in the backyard as opposed to actually living in the home. Mm-hmm. But occasionally they do have the lights on. They keep up with the property. They don't just let it, fall apart or anything. But
So nobody lives in there?
Yeah, they don't actually live in there.
Do they run it?
No.
Oh, that's kind of a waste then.
They're not doing like any tour.
No, they just maintain the property. They're just in there. Every once in a while they have them on for a few days, just to, I guess, keep people from breaking in and stuff like that.
You need to start doing tours.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure exactly what.
Bed and breakfast.
Their whole, if they're like distant relatives or something, I don't know.
Are there any stories of like experiences?
Yeah,
People
I've heard of people seeing the ghost of Miss Margaret up there in the window. So.
Oh yeah.
The haunting itself, I don't imagine is really malicious or anything like that, but I think it's the kind of thing you just have really vivid nightmare of like a woman on fire. You imagine, you know, hearing the screams and, you know, that sort of thing. So it's not exactly, you know, it's just the trauma of it is enough that you can't really get past. You know, even now you can see they don't have the lights on up in that room, so they probably never go in there at all, you know. Like I said, it's still fire damage, you know. Maybe occasionally, I don't know, you might have to like bless yourself with the holy water and, you know, whatever. But I don't think she's like a mean spirit or anything like that. I think it's just like the trauma, you know. So we'll
a dead in breakfast.
yeah.
A dead in breakfast.
Breakfast.
Dead in breakfast.
I've said that before.
Yeah.
And we ended up in a haunted bed and breakfast.
Really?
Yeah, Gettysburg.
Oh, Gettysburg, I'm sure.
Oh, the Farnsworth bed and breakfast is where we stayed.
Big house.
Yeah, it's pretty sizable property, but again, you can tell, you know, they have no blinds or windows or curtains or anything. So. Oh, you're about to turn?
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Nobody gets flattened by a trolley.
Yeah, I can't,
That would be the next haunting, Savannah, Georgia.
Stray cats around here, which is a good thing.
They're pretty smart. You know, they don't stay out in the traffic or anything. I have a dog.
See what's nice.
Like Caterpillar.
Catahoula.
Yeah.
I've heard of them kinds. Aren't they kind of mean a little bit if you don't socialize them, huh?
Could be. Yeah, they have a lot of like hunting instincts.
Yeah.
So they're really protected. But not really aggressive. They just, you know, squirrels aren't really too well off though.
Yeah.
But the property across the street there, that's the Kehoe House, and that is a bed and breakfast today. It's probably one of the most formidable homes in the city. Basically built like a castle, you know. The building right here behind us is the Davenport House.
I've heard of this house.
Yeah, this is the one that Haversham competes with before he puts the you know, concrete around his home and sort of ruins his own property. But
One by itself.
no, there's people in there. Yeah, there's a house museum. So sometimes the trolley, they have people like go in there and do you know, look around and stuff.
Nobody lives here, though, right?
I think a couple people that work there, actually live there. So, yeah, I'm not sure, you know, how that works, but if they're like museum keepers or whatever. But I'm pretty sure a couple, like maybe 1 or 2 people live up there. But this one's a bed and breakfast. So if you haven't seen people walking around, you know, that's why they're there. The home there is again built by a man named William Kehoe, and he'll grow up during the Irish potato famine. So he spends his childhood, you know, eating bowls of dirt, basically. It's not exactly, you know, the happiest upbringing. Clearly from the home there, he's a pretty wealthy guy, however, but his sort of tragic character flaw is that he is a, basically Ebenezer Scrooge. You know, obviously, Ebenezer, is that it?
No, miser, I did. Miser.
Oh, yeah. Is that a...
Ebenezer.
Yeah, miser. Yeah, okay, I get it.
I had a couple of misers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I haven't heard that one before. But, yeah, it sounds like it fits. The, character of the guy there, again, he's real, you know, whatever. And he'll, basically botch his wife's funeral. Now, obviously, if you lived in that house, you'd imagine that you'd have a pretty nice funeral, and his wife certainly did. In her will and testimony, she has a really specific idea how she'd like the ceremony to be, and it's not really anything too outlandish or anything you wouldn't expect from the woman that lived there, but it'll mainly revolve around something called a glass wake. It'll be a tradition from England that is a sort of horse-drawn hearse that kind of looks like Sleeping Beauty. A coffin there on the back, it would have had flowers and wreaths about it and that sort of thing. And again, it's sort of funeral procession from the front of the home here to the cemetery, which is really right around the block. The other thing she wanted was a oak casket and to be buried in her wedding gown. So in the wedding dress there, obviously this is going to be the last time that she's seen on Earth. So the sort of open casket wake and all that sort of thing, it would be a pretty nice ceremony. But her husband, again, is this sort of notorious cheapskate who basically gets the whole thing wrong. Rather than the oak casket, he'll get a pine wood shoebox, essentially. Yes.
Little idiot.
Yeah, right. Just sort of started off everything terribly. The glass wake, of course, he ruins as well as he loads the casket on the back of the regular horse and buggy. It's basically like he threw it in the trunk of a Honda or something. So it's pretty terrible. And the third and final strike there will be that wedding gown. He'll decide it's really much too nice of a dress to just bury in the earth, and he'll save it for his daughter's wedding. Yeah. So obviously.
You want to wear it at this point?
Yeah, right. It's sure he could have afforded another one, But the home there, they say, is haunted by her. People say they'll wake up in the middle of the night with a woman staring at them from the foot of the bed, which, if you've ever been at the red light and felt somebody staring at you, you look over and it's got no eyebrows, just kind of tweaking, But you can imagine how sort of disturbing that is to wake up. It's bad enough when it's your cat. The other thing when it's a
human being. Well, once was a human being.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of threatening, I'd imagine, huh? As long as they're not holding an axe or something. But
Do they say what the wife died of?
oh, she just died naturally. It's just the fact that her husband, sort of embarrassed her in front of the whole city and ruined her funeral. So.
I'm just surprised she's very specific on how she wanted to be buried if she's not ill or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
yeah,
I don't know.
If you're super healthy, are you planning your funeral today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like she died
I don't know.
untimely. She just died kind of, you know what I mean? Naturally.
Natural death, yeah.
So.
Because they didn't live that long back then, back in the 1800s.
It was pretty common to make out your will like that.
Yeah.
That was what they did.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have much else to do,
Yeah, but think about death.
Turns around and
This is how I want to be buried.
Well, it's like planning your wedding, but kind of not.
Oh, yeah.
That is a beautiful home.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Very pretty.
Andrina would love that place.
Yep. Beautiful.
But it'll also be used as a funeral parlor for a few decades.
I had a feeling about it being a funeral parlor. I got that feeling.
Really? Yeah.
I did too.
Kind of puts off the morgue vibe.
Oh my God,
Why would you do that when
Oh,
you
it's after
didn't-
the home is sold. So it'll be, run as a funeral home.
See, bed and breakfast.
Yeah. I mean, it fits, yeah. The room right there, the parlor, is where they did a lot of the viewing. So if you see in this row of the windows, one of them's been replaced with that copper door. That's actually, the wooden panel right there.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's a door they'll use to offload the caskets after the wake. So when it's being used as a funeral home, they have the viewing right there. The sun through the windows and all. Scenic sort of appropriate place for it. But when they're done with the casket, you probably saw the front steps of the building are pretty steep, and there's no better way to ruin a funeral than dropping the guy down the staircase, right?
Dropping poor Uncle Eddie down the stairs, you know.
So they had a better idea there. They put a ramp through the door there, and it would come out into the road where they sort of offload the casket that way. But,
That makes sense.
Yeah, you know, lots of. Because the coffin's pretty heavy, you know, you got like a 200-pound man and a 300-pound casket, whatever. But
The bed and breakfast.
so we can step out in the street and make it a little easier to see the building. The property across the road there is from 1790. That's a kneecapper on it. So
Well, that's one way to break my knee, to get your money back. I had to. Sorry, not sorry.
but the
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
building across the street here is from 1790, and that is actually the first hotel built in the city. Really well known.
Wait, which one are that one?
This one right here.
Oh, this little.
Yeah, the small one. Yeah, it's the first hotel that's built in Savannah. But the ground floor down there is a restaurant. It's actually a really nice place. There's a in the corner of the property as well, which is a pretty cool place. It has a kind of living room atmosphere more than a bar. But the grounds there are really well known for the haunting of a woman named Anna. She actually jumped from the upper story and fell to her death. The Disney version of the story there is that he falls in love with a sailor, and as he is leaving town there, you know, he gets on the ship, and it's like this Romeo and Juliet sort of love-stricken moment. But of course, that is, you know, a bit romanticized for the Disney version of the story. You know, the reality is that as soon as the baby becomes part of the picture, this guy's headed back to the Caribbean. You know, he never existed to begin with. So the story is old as time. That one, you know, trusting the sailor. But, nothing too original about it. But unfortunately for Anna, you know, she's basically had her reputation ruined, and the weight of the world kind of, you know, crashing on her shoulders there. It's a bit ambiguous whether or not she actually intended to kill herself from jumping from the top floor. But the, you know, consensus, you know, she probably didn't care one way or another as far as what happened to her. Might have been kind of, you know, a little bit more than she could chew. You know, it's not exactly the miscarriage. You know, she ends up dying in the process. So,
Wow.
unfortunately, yeah, it's just a young woman who kind of has an unfortunate, you know, he's kind of sympathetic, you know. But
Is it guest or she?
no, she lived in Savannah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I meant in the hotel.
Oh, in a hotel?
Oh, is it a hotel?
Yeah, I don't know why she chose the hotel to
Oh.
die from. Maybe it's just,
Yeah.
I'm not sure as far as that,
Yeah.
that detail of it. I never really thought it through.
Yeah, I was like,
Why she
she's
didn't
like
jump
part
out
of the
the,
owner or
yeah,
like
jump
what
out of her own
she-
home? I don't know, yeah.
Why pay money to go kill yourself? Save the money to do
Yeah,
it.
there's probably less three-story buildings in the.
Save the money.
Yeah.
Save the money.
I mean, it was the first hotel, so it probably was one of the only buildings that was three-story, you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about it, you know. But good point. But they say that the haunting there is particularly directed at men. So obviously she has an axe to grind, you know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I imagine that most guys the next morning when they wake up after being haunted all night, you know, they have plenty to apologize for.
Like, that's not just fun.
Yeah.
Or either that or they just leave in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just disappear.
Yeah.
Like call her tomorrow morning. Like, I'm sorry I burned the turkey last Thanksgiving.
Please forgive me.
Yeah. You know, pretty much just go through the list of everything you did wrong.
Is it a hotel now?
Yeah, it's still a hotel. But the bottom floor, like I was saying, is a restaurant.
I wonder what window she did herself out.
Well,
I mean, true.
the third story.
So-
Oh my God, look!
Oh my god, maybe it's that window.
Oh, there's something in the middle.
That is pretty scary.
Oh my.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Waves at you, that's not part of the script, so.
Don't even try it.
somebody there though.
Yeah. Yeah, head spins around in a circle, you know.
She starts puking green.
Green pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the effigy.
Oh.
It's like a
Well, that must be the one.
token of tribute sort of thing.
That's the one she did it.
Photos are amazing.
Oh my God. Oh.
You know, I don't know, I've never stayed there, so.
He's like, I'll never stay there.
That's the staple of the whole route.
Oh wow.
Oh, the baby's tired. Be careful over here.
Yeah, it's really
There he is. Not very loud, Anna.
yeah.
Yeah, there's one of those downspouts there too.
Oh, yeah. This one's the mouth is open.
Uh,
Oh. Oh.
yeah, the fish gutter spout. What is that thing? That's a,
Mobile.
Well, that's what they're just going around picking up drunk people.
They're doing what?
It's a jail one.
Oh, well, I
yeah,
mean,
I think it's got radio.
so what are they doing? Busting somebody.
Usually if they think there's going to be a certain amount of people in the town, they just whatever.
Keep the residents safe.
It's like a dog catcher with only for people.
So they'll put them in the pound for the night.
And how do they call it? The goal or whatever? Instead of the jail.
The pen? The pen?
The goal?
Gulag?
Yeah, gulag.
The goulash?
That's communist Russia.
We're not in communist Russia. Well,
Almost.
almost.
Making away.
Just give that much away.
Oh, it's all, see, it's all closed. Locked.
Yeah, it's open during the day.
Can you do your own thing in there? Like tour? Oh, yeah, I don't want to get in there.
Well, that's one way of getting any in Hawana.
Open during the day. On a tour without seeing the cemetery, you know. But you can see it pretty well. It's pretty well lit tonight. The grounds here. This is again the oldest in the state of Georgia. They say there's about 4,000 people buried here. But the structures you see there that look like beds, they might resemble above ground graves or something like that, but it's actually a vault that goes about 12, 15 feet underground. It'll be used as a family plot, and the way you would have accessed it would have been a little door at the base of the headboard. So the way you can see again, it's like a headboard and a footboard on a bed, and that symbolizes eternal rest. But they've actually gone through here and found that most of them are emptied.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Grave robbing?
basically
What the
the
hell?
Civil War era. Sherman will have a bunch of orphan kids basically staying here, and the boys will essentially vandalize like half of the place.
Wow.
They'll break into those and basically sleep in them.
Oh
So-
my, we're in these things, these vaults.
Yeah.
That is sick.
Yeah. Pretty
Oh my God. That's
pretty
exactly why I'm getting
yeah, pretty
cremated.
fucked up. The
Ain't nobody breaking
boys
my
there, yeah, they sort of carve things into people's headstones.
Oh, that's vandalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of add things to the epitaphs that are pretty juvenile, you know. A couple of them are actually shot at. Yeah, it's pretty heavily just basically just sort of run amok, you know. These kids, if you imagine, they're orphans during the Civil War, so they're like little Vietnam veterans, you know. Basically just completely, yeah. So you know exactly. But
I think it was Paranormal caught on tape.
Mhm.
A young man was here, and he said, and you could literally see it. It was a young boy, and like old-fashioned clothes, run.
yeah,
And
kids.
and then just jumped up in the tree and like
I
disappeared.
think I've heard it. I think I actually have seen that. Yeah, he like runs to a tree and like shoots up the tree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. It's like a video.
Yeah,
But,
and it went viral
yeah, I think I've. Yeah, I
on
think I've
YouTube,
seen
I
that.
think, or something.
Yeah, the moss there kind of looks pretty spooky for October, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of cool, a little fascinating, a little bit, but you wouldn't want to, you know, use it as a pillow or anything. It's actually full of bugs.
Ew.
Yeah. Well, it's okay, just, you know, a little bit, but yeah. There's like a 30-second rule with that one. But yeah, there's actually a lot of people that were buried alive here as well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was that was
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was a neck. Well, just
Because there was this like this illness was going around where it looked like they were dead.
Yeah. It's yellow fever.
Yeah, and then here they weren't, and a lot of them were buried
Yeah. What
alive.
they would have done is they put a mirror under your nose. If you didn't fog the glass up, you know, if you weren't breathing strong enough to fog the glass, they would just assume you were dead, and basically, you know, start digging your funeral plot, you know.
And then eventually they come up with the bell, tied the bell on the toe.
Yeah. Once they realized what a coma was, yeah, they started putting a bell in the corner.
Red thing on there, look.
But yeah, I got the cat laser, yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty unfortunate thing for the people before that, though. So a lot of them will be buried alive, and they've actually exhumed a couple of them where they found them like that, where of course their face is like frozen in terror. You know, they look like the scream emoji, and the other detail of it, you've guys probably heard this before, where they scratch the inside of the coffin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And their nails is all ripped.
Yeah,
bloodied.
they say they're the
To the
tips of their
bone.
fingers. Yeah. They basically scratch off their own fingernails. Just keep scratching with like the tips of their bone there. So it's pretty insane. You know, you can imagine the sort of hellish panic you'd be going through.
Bless you.
Who's got that
Would be a
cat
bioterrorist
laser?
or anything. Or a SWAT team, you know, throws me on a cement. But we can go ahead and keep walking this way and take a left. And there's one of these walks you can see a little bit more easily here in the fence line. We'll walk by it. But,
I don't know if it was this particular cemetery where he filmed that, but I know it was here in Georgia, Savannah.
Yeah, I think I've seen what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure it is.
I guess he was like on a trip with his family.
Yeah, it's like a kid,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did see that.
I've seen that, and I'm like, that is.
It's like, it's like a ghost of a kid, and he like runs over to one of the trees.
Yeah, and jumps and like
It just like
disappears.
it looked like it's beamed up by a UFO or something.
Yeah, it was crazy weird.
Yeah, it's just up in the street. Pretty weird.
And I know for certain he wasn't. There was no filter.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I know yellow fever and TB that ran like bad around here, didn't it? In this area.
There's a lot of these different times. Yeah. It's up for you guys. He's pretty happy.
Yeah, late tonight. I just could not bring myself to do that.
What?
Go in a hearse.
Yeah, no.
No, I know.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Yeah, no. Nope. No, thank you.
No.
I'd rather walk. Thank you very much.
I don't want to be in one of them.
No, I don't want to be in one of them either.
We'll continue across the street here, but before we leave, one sort of final thing to say about it. This wall here isn't the original boundary of the graveyard. When they expanded the road here, they actually paved over a good portion of it. So this pattern on the pavers right there, that's supposed to be like the surface of water and keeps the spirits from the disturbed graves on their side of the fence. But throughout the area, there are still burial plots throughout the area. But we can cross over here and head to the next stop here.
Oh, fire station.
Yeah.
Oh. Big old limousine.
Yeah, right.